Don't die in the middle of this thing.
Well, I mean,
The first time I ever killed an interviewer guy.
ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ballnine Roundhouse. We have a very special edition for you today. Aside from our ombudsman, Rocco Constantino, our very own Kevin Kernan, we are honored and pleased to have a legend in the baseball world, if you will. We have Mr. Jay Horwitz, Mets PR guru extraordinaire, and a guy who's seen way more than you have. Jay, how are you today?
Good. Thanks for having me, guys. It's my pleasure being on with you and Kevin.
Hey, it's a pleasure having you. So you just screw Rocco, though, huh? I mean,
that's right. I apologize, Rocco.
No. I've been screwed by much lesser people, so
yeah, I hear you.
And Jay, you have a new book out called Mr. Met, which I can't wait to read. Kevin's already reading it somehow.
It's awesome.
There it is. There it is. See, look at that. You're always at the ready, Kevin. You're always at the ready. And I was wondering if you want to talk a little bit about the book before we go into, 40 years of Mets PR.
Yeah, people ask me why did I write the book. I'm going to be 75 years old August 14th. So why am I going to write a book at this age? Well, I'm really getting near the end of my career, and a couple of things I wanted to accomplish with this book. It was always going to be a feel-good book, not a tell-all book. One of the main reasons when my mother was carrying me in the 40s, she came down with glaucoma. I was born. She came down with German measles. I'm sorry. I was born with glaucoma in my right eye. I was born blind in my right eye. When I was about 11 or 12, the disease spread to the other eye, and the doctor said, "Listen, if you don't have the right eye taken out, you're going to be blind." So altogether, I took the right eye out. I had a glass eye since I was 12. I was always been embarrassed, for lack of a better word, to tell people. I always said, well, I could just see a little bit. I could see the light. I couldn't see anything. I had a glass eye. And one of the reasons I wanted to write this book, maybe to give a kid or somebody born not perfect, hey, you can succeed in life. I had a nice career for myself, 40 years with one eye. And just a little inspiration, I would hope to provide some people. The other thing is that Kevin knows her well. Shannon Ford was my assistant for 22 years.
Sure.
She died all too young, breast cancer, age 44, 2016. Two young kids. Probably one of the most courageous people I've ever met my entire life. She fought like heck until the disease, just overcame her. When she passed away in 2016, 9 major league teams held a moment of silence for her, and MLB helped build the field in her honor in her hometown of Little Ferry, New Jersey. People always told me I have a decent sense of humor. I just want to relate some of the funny stories that guys like Johnny Franco and David White played on me over the years. So that's really, in a nutshell, why I decided to write this cockamamie book.
Well, that's. I mean, your sense of humor is legendary. I think everyone knows that about you, Jay. And you're talking about some of these stories that these guys played, or some of the pranks these guys played on you over the years. I'm going to let Kevin ask you a couple of those.
Well, Jay, I think that it was I've been around clubhouses almost 44 years, and just let people know, Jay and I go back to 1977. I was an assistant sports editor at the Hudson Dispatch and the Patterson News, and Jay used to come in with releases from FDU, Shirley Dickinson. And Jay and I have had a relationship, and I recognize right away, not only is Jay great at what he does, but he has a passion that's off the charts for the teams and the players he's covering for. He would get great coverage for college kids, small school FDU, but he would do it in a unique way. And I don't want to screw up any of those stories first, Jay. But tell us a little bit about some of the guys that you got copy for in major papers all the way down, starting with, I think, Franklin Jacobs.
Yeah. Well, Franklin Jacobs is probably the most legitimate athlete I had, Kevin. He was 5'6", a basketball player, went out for the basketball, he played for Alabama with FDU. Then he went to track, and he set a world's record in a high jump. He jumped 2 feet over his head. He won the Milrose game back in 1980. 7'6" and a quarter. He beat Dwight Stones at the time as the top high jumper in the world. And one of my biggest, letdowns is Dwight would have gone to the 1980 games in Moscow, but we boycotted. Then we had all these people, the weird guys, gravitated towards me, Kevin. We had a one-arm fencer. We had it was a one-arm fencer. So I used to write, Kevin knows it, the Herald News. So I wrote a story for the paper. I remember the lead like it was yesterday. Bob Smith defeated Rutgers single-handedly. So the next day, I got called to the press office. I said, "What the hell are you doing, Jay? Making fun of our athletes?" Well, he had one arm. He won 3 matches. He won single-handedly. Then we had an Arab and Israeli goalie on the same team. We had a Steve Dembowski, a baseball player, got hit by a pitch 128 times in 4 years. One spring, we had cameras come down 11 times. Steve got hit 11 times, and we'll go every time. They had a priest who played hockey. He got on What's My Line. They didn't guess him. Father John Pierce had a 47-year-old freshman football player, Mal Gibson. People used to think I made this stuff up. Kevin, I used to walk into the newsroom. You were there with Bob Curley and Ron Rippey. I got another good one for you guys. And everybody said, "No, I didn't make it up." That's where I got hired with the Mets. They were looking for a crazy offbeat PR guy, and I'm the guy.
Well, I was just going to say, then you go from there. Then you really go to Zoo. You go to the Mets, but your relationship with the players always set you apart and the manager, Davey Johnson, right from the beginning. How was it that Davey, basically, you knew the team inside and out and what was going on? What did you know? And the first couple of 4 years were tough, but what was it like when you got to 86 and you knew and you had a manager too who wasn't afraid to say stuff?
Well, Davey was hired, Kevin, in October after the World Series in 1983. His opening lines at the press conference was, "I'm here to manage the Mets." And he turned to Frank Cash, the GM, and said, "Why did it take so long? I'm your guy." And he brought a sense of boldness, of cockiness. Davey didn't need the job. He was a millionaire, had his own pilot's license, he was a real estate guy, and we won 90 games that first year, and then we won, I think, 98 the second year, and then 85. In spring training of 86, during the pep talk, he said to the guys, "Not only are we going to win, but we're going to dominate." So we lost. We were 2-3 the first 5 games in 86. In our welcome home dinner, he told the crowd, "Guys, we're not going to lose many more games the rest of the year." So from the end of the year, we lost 51 more games from mid-April till the end of September. So, but Davey was a guy, he never was afraid to say what he said, didn't care if he got criticized in the papers. He was a perfect manager for a perfect team.
And he had some personalities on that team. I mean, obviously, it's the 86 Mets. I don't really need to say anything more than that.
No, just say 86 Mets. That about sums it up.
I actually had a question for you, Jay. And how did you manage these guys? Because, it really had the potential to be a PR nightmare that year. And you somehow, now you think 86 Mets, you think, just amazing team. You just think about the good stuff. How did you navigate the PR that year with all that went on?
Basically, it's a matter of trust, Chris. Some of the guys had their ups and downs, Doc and Straw and Keith, and they trusted me. And you have to have a level of trust with the players. If a PR guy hasn't had the trust of players, you're dead. So even when the bad times, when his guys had some stuff going on, and I would go to them with advice, and they would trust what I said. Doc and Darryl, when they came back from their difficulties off the field, guys, got to go in front of your locker, say what you believe, and don't lie, tell the truth. And to this day, Doc and Darryl, two of the most beloved people in Mets history, because I just had a level of trust with these guys, and they knew I was on your side. Chris, I never wanted to be a suit. I didn't want to be a front office guy. I wanted to fit into the locker room, and that's what I try to do. That's how I really existed for 40 years.
Excellent.
And by being that guy, gets back to the original question that Chris asked, but once you get their, and this is a great lesson for all PR people, once you get their trust, and you become, in a way, part of who they are, because they were treating you like they were treating teammates. And that's what a lot of the like the kidding with you, the ice cream sandwich in a jacket and things like that. that's what players do, right? That's how they show trust.
And Johnny Franco once told me, he said, Jay, if the guys don't like you, they won't screw with you. And that was my, I never took anything seriously what they did. Johnny, I could have written a whole book on all the stuff that Johnny did to me. But the best one was, we're in a Biltmore Hotel in Los Angeles. Johnny unscrews a horse head from the lobby, goes up to my room, gets the keys, puts the horse head on my bed, puts ketchup on the pillows, shuts the lights off. And I walked into the room. I had a freaking heart attack because I had a dead horse in my bed. You know what, though? I understood, that if you got mad or got PO'd about it, this is the way you had to exist. And that's what I did, and I wanted to be one of the guys. Can I digress for 1 second? Jacob deGrom was nice enough to write the forward for my book. And why Jacob deGrom? Well, the people at Triumph wanted me. I'm right. In the last 2 years, I've been working with the alumni, as Kevin knows. They wanted me to connect to a guy on the current team. Jake, I'm 40 years older than Jacob, so we had a special way of connecting. I would go to him in his first Cy Young year. I said, Jacob, we need to do about 3 or 4 articles in a row. We don't have a lot of wins. We got to let them know ERA, strikeouts, support. Jay, I'll do anything you want, but you got to do one thing for me. We had a basketball net in the clubhouse. You have to make 2 or 3 shots before I'll do the interviews. I stood there like for an hour, like a buffoon, never hit the backboard, But he did the interview. So then in other occasions, you have to go on the field, hit ground balls to me and Steve and Matt for a half hour. Do that. We'll do the interviews. I never hit the ball once, but that's what I was prepared to do, to be able to laugh at yourself, to let these guys know I'm not your normal PR guy. That's what I try to do.
That's amazing. Rocco, I'm sure you have a question, man. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. My question for you is, have you ever gotten any of the guys back with a prank of your own, or have you tried?
Well, I did it once or twice, and let's put it this way. Yeah, John Franco's birthday was in September, and I went through the phone book, and I looked for exotic dancers, overweight exotic dancers. So I hired 250-pound exotic dancers. They called a team meeting in the locker room, and 2 young ladies came in and danced in front of his locker, and the whole locker room was hysterical. That's probably one of the only times. You know what the thing is? You get back at him, it's always 40 times back the other way. So I said this would be a nice good thing. The guys would get a kick out of. So that's probably the one time I got back at somebody.
And also, you would do real quick, but I know sometimes on game notes you would put some stuff in there, right, that would get you in trouble. And
yeah,
of course,
I'm matured now, Kevin. I used to do that. I don't do that anymore. Probably my best one, and unfortunately he's passed away. Anthony Young was a great football player at the University of Houston. So the last day of one season, I put in the notes that he's going to sign. With the Houston football team. The GM of the football team got so upset. He called my GM. What are you doing? Probably one of my better notes was my good friend Rusty Staub's birthday was on April 1st. I had a note in the St. Pete Times that said, Rusty Staub turned so-and-so today. He invites all of his friends to donate gifts at the Huggins Stengel Fieldhouse, but the gift has to be a $50 minimum. So the next day, I had about 35, 40 gifts turned up at the Fieldhouse for Rusty. Rusty got so ticked off at me, but he got even. He did get even with me at the welcome home dinner in October. He hired a guy to throw a pie in my face, knocked my glasses off. I ran over the whole board, tried to get the guy, never got him, stepped on my glasses. And Rusty said to me, next time you try to pull a joke on me, it'll be cow shit. And that was the last time I would pull a joke on Rusty.
That's awesome.
Oh, that's fantastic. Nice.
Yeah, you mentioned it a little bit earlier, but again, I've been dealing with a lot of public relations people through the years, just 40 years of it. But you were very lucky to have Shannon to work with you, right? Because she was what you were great at. She was also great at her little things, and you meshed well together. And I know that as reporters, we really appreciated that.
She, Kevin, when I hired her, she was an intern at St. John's, and I knew right away that she was the one. She was a Met fan. She kept score. She knew what was going on, and she was never intimidated by any of the players. She was able, I'll give you a perfect example. Probably late '90s, was pouring rain in St. Lucie Stadium. Todd Hundley is supposed to do an interview with Scott Clark, used to be a guy on ABC TV. He was late. I said, I'll go get Todd. He said, no, I'll get him. Todd was sitting down in the locker room talking to somebody. So she yanked him. We got him upstairs. Jay's waiting for you. We go upstairs, and we went up the stairs together. She wasn't intimidated by, with Franco or Piazza or any of the guys. And the guys respected her. And, she worked the AllStar Games. She worked the, World Series. She helped run the Subway Series in 2000, the AllStar Game in 2013. And, when David Wright came up in 2004, she and David hit it off. And David would go to her for dating advice, for restaurants, where to go. And even when Shannon willed her way to go to the World Series in 2015, and they would sit together in the locker room, and Shannon would never want to talk about herself. She just, David, how are your injuries? How you doing? So she was one of the kind. And the thing is, Kevin, when people die, they forget. And I just didn't want anybody, if anybody reads one chapter in a book, that's a chapter, to never forget what kind of a person she was.
Yeah. Jay, my little Sharon Ford, somewhat story, regret type of thing. I used to be the head softball coach at Bloomfield College. Then I moved up to become an athletic director. But now Bloomfield College plays their home games at Sharon Field. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, man, I missed that by about 2 years. So I really wish I could have coached.
Rocco, that's a great legacy. She loved sport. She was a great softball player. Her sister Alicia was too. To have flowers, to have a plaque, to have a field dedicated to you in your own park, in your own city. And the thing is, she was able to, Kevin would appreciate this too. There's three segments. There's the ownership, who hires you. Then there's the players and the media. The players think you're partial to the media, and the media think you're partial to the player, and the ownership thinks you're partial to the other two sides. And she was always able to walk the walk that all the people love her. I never met one person had a bad word to say about her. That's pretty remarkable in all the years she worked with the Mets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the other thing, too, and you bring it up with ownership, you have to serve, as a good PR man, you really have to serve three masters, right? Because you got to take care of the media, you got to take care of the players, and then the owners, owners are owners. They're going to do what they do. And I'm sure you got some early morning phone calls through the years. And how do you navigate that?
Well, again, the owners have to know. I can look everybody in this call, everybody in the face. In my 40-plus years, I never leaked anything. I never betrayed a confidence. And the people, all three sides got to know. You always got to know that he could trust you. The players got to know they could trust you. And the media, have to be able to trust you. In our market, when we used to travel before the virus, 10, 12, 14 writers around the road with TV. And if you lie or get caught or don't tell the truth, you're a dead person. Your credibility is gone. And just to establish that you're a credible person, you're not going to lie, you're not going to mislead anything, and you just a level of trust, Kevin. Just to let people know you're an honorable guy. You're not going to betray any confidences. And
what about I know you're a big Giants fan.
Yeah, I've had season tickets to the Giants since 1958. I was there.
Wow.
In the overtime game when Alan the Horse Amici ran right towards me in section 17 to score. In one particular Giant game, we're playing the Eagles, and Joe Pisarcik handed it off to Larry Zonko, fumbled, and Herman Edwards picked the ball up and ran in for a touchdown. On that particular play, I cracked a bone in my wrist, broke my binoculars, and cracked my radio. And one thing, my father passed, and my father was the one. He was a big, I was a big Willie Mays fan growing up, and my father was a Giant fan. So after my father died, my mom went to the Giant games with me. And one particular Jet game, the Jets knocked the Giants out of the playoffs on a late touchdown, and I purposely spilled soda over the guy in front of me who's wearing a Jet jacket. And my mother said, if you do that again, I'll never go to another freaking game with you. But I'm sure it now, and I still go to the Giant game. Pat Hamlin is the PR guy with the Giants. He's a gigantic Mets fan, and we trade stuff all the time. And hopefully, he gets to go to some games this year.
And don't you have some your pets, right? What's the name of your pets again?
Oh, I think they passed away. I have 3 cats now: Lily, Stanley, and Lily, Stanley, and Leo. But I had a cat named L. I had one cat L and one cat named T. Well, they were named after. But and my dog who passed away the last year of cancer was named Tiki. I originally wanted to change it to Eli, but I kept it to Tiki because Tiki was a girl, so it was a nice name. But yeah, if you looked at my house, Kevin, you think I either work for John Kennedy or the football Giants. I have some Mets stuff, but there's a lot of Eli Manning's, Frank Givert's, stuff all over my house.
But I spoke to Dwight Gooden this week, and I'll be doing something on him probably next week. And he speaks so highly of you, and no one's had more ups and downs than Doc. What has that relationship been like? Because you're talking about, from the first time he pitched, that great story where he walked to the ballpark, and I'll let you pick it up from there.
Yeah, this is in 1984, 1983. He strikes out 300 batters in Lynchburg. It comes up to the team in '84. Ownership, the front office wanted Dwight to go down for another year of seasoning. He didn't find out he really made the team to the last day, and Davey called him in the office and he made the team. And we just developed a relationship that I was there from the young kid pitching a big mark, and our team wasn't really good to start off 1984. So I was very protective of Doc and just try to do the right thing by him. And the first start in Houston, he was nervous. He missed the bus. He didn't want to take the bus, walked to the park. And when he got to the Astrodome, he had to go down to the locker room because he told the guys he was starting pitcher. Nobody believed him. But Ken, you brought up a good point. I try to be there with Doc and Straw, the good times and the bad times. I've gone to jail to interview both of them. I've kept in contact with them. And the good thing about this is, both guys have really straightened their lives out for a long time. Darryl is a minister, as is his wife Tracy, and Dwight does a lot of good work with Hackensack Hospital, and goes to high schools to give some instruction. And the message is the same: don't do as I did. They're not afraid to say, "Hey, I've made mistakes in my life. This is what I did. Don't do what I did." Especially Darryl goes around the country, preaches about the evils of opioids, and it's really good. I maintain a great relationship. And one thing, it's easy to be friends with people when they're MVPs or Cy Youngs or this or that, but when people are down, they need you. That's what I've always tried to do. And not just Dwight and Darryl, but all the other people I've worked with the Mets.
Jay, I mean, you bring up Doc and you bring up Darryl. When they went across town, how did you navigate that one? I mean, was it something like because you had these guys. When I was a little kid, as a Yankee fan, I hated Strawberry because he was so good and he wasn't a Yankee. And then all of a sudden he came over, and I love the guy. I mean, I love the guy to death. Same with Doc Gooden. How did that navigate itself in the media, and how did you play that, like with the papers and the back pages, and how did you work that?
I just try to separate my friendship with them, and no matter what team they played for, they were still my friends. I remember I visited Darryl in the hospital when he had his cancer surgery. And I would, when Doc came with the Yankees, I always sat to say hello, always call his dad, ask him how his dad was doing. I just tried never let the personal relationships die. I loved being in sports for so long. The wins and losses are great, but the relationships and friendships, that's just really important. And Doc, we always had a tie to that 1986 team. The league hated us. Everybody in the team hated us. We got in the fights and being ball stuffs. And it was we won, 116 games that year. We were one strike away from eliminating. We came back and won. Yeah. And, from 1984 to 90, we really owned New York. We averaged about 90 wins a year. Yep. And whatever happened later on, I never let that kind of get in the way of our friendship. And we were friends when, Darryl would come in with the Dodgers. We would sit in the dugout and ask him how his family was. And, friendship really topped everything, no matter where they played for.
And Gary Carter, I want to ask about Gary because he was the missing ingredient for that team. And when he gets there, you saw how he fit in behind the scenes. And most people didn't realize what he meant for that team in different ways, not just catching.
Yeah, Gary was the anchor of the young pitching staff. He was Mr. Analytics before analytics came into play. He would keep a book on every pitcher. And Gary didn't care whether he was 0 for 4 or 1 for 9, as long as Dwight or Sid or Ron Darling pitch a good game. And Gary died at the way young age of 57. And tell you what Gary's about. In the summer of 2011, I broke my ankle. I was in a hospital every week, and that was when Gary would call me religiously. That when he just came down with brain cancer. So Jeff Wilpon, when he owns the Mets, flew us down to see him in January, and he said, Jay, he used to call me Jay. Jay, I'm going to beat this thing. And he, Gary, he was a great charity guy. He won the Clementi Award for his work with leukemia, and he just, Gary, was a different personality than the other guys. He didn't go out at night. He didn't go to bars, but he fit in so well with that team because he meant so much to the fabric of the team and all the personalities blended. And Gary, I remember the 7th game in the World Series, he did 5 one-on-one interviews with TVs and radios, and that wouldn't happen today, Kevin, as you well know. But wow. He was one of a kind. He's a good friend.
Incredible. Rocco, I'm sure you have something that you want to ask.
My 186 question, and I haven't found somebody to answer yes to this yet. I still believe in the NLCS. The narrative is if they didn't win Game 6, they're losing to Mike Scott in Game 7. I always have said they would have found a way somehow to beat Mike Scott, whether it was matching zeros until he was out of the game. I just always felt that 86 team was a team of fate. What would you have thought about a possible, I guess, hypothetical Game 7 matchup with Mike Scott?
Let me tell you, to be honest with you, the guys didn't want to face Mike Scott in Game 7. Because to a man, we felt he was scuffing the ball, doing stuff to the balls, and I think he had 1 run in 2 games. With the 2 complete games, we were pitched 17 innings, and we got to the 9th inning in Game 6. We're losing 3-0 against Bob Nepper, and I can tell you there was a feeling that no, we're going to give them anything, but it was better the way it worked out because Mike was on a roll, and that was just a great game, and we get the 3 runs, and Lenny gets a big hit in the 9th inning, Mookie does, and then Jesse gives up the home run to Hatcher to tie the game. We go ahead, and the famous confrontation on the pitching mound in the 16th inning, Gary and Keith went to Jesse, and Keith said, if you throw a damn fast one, I'll come here and kill you. And he didn't throw, he threw a curve, and he struck him out, and the rest is history. There's no doubt in my mind that Houston series kind of slowed us down a little bit. That's why we lost the first 2 games at home. I mean, it's really a crazy series, and, coming back on the plane ride from Houston, the boys had a little fun on the plane, and we kind of left it disarray going home. But we once the guy to check, Davey probably made one of the best decisions he ever made. We lose games for 2-0. We're down. We go to Boston. We're supposed to have a press day at Fenway Park. And Davey comes to me and said, "Listen, I want to give the guys a day off. Take some heat for us. Tell them I'm going to only send 2 starting pitchers, me and you, to go to the park." I told them that. The guys had a day off. And there's no doubt in my mind it helped regenerate the team. We took 2 or 3 from Boston, got down, and won it. But it was just a great experience, and I have the ring, and I can tell you one quick ring story. I don't wear my ring anymore. I went to a reunion, and I was trying to impress a girl I went to high school with, and I put the ring on my finger. I had to ply it on there, and I went to the wrong date. I graduated Clifton in 1963. And I went to the reunion. It was Robert Tree Hotel in Newark. I went to the Friday night. I was in class of 73. So I went there. I looked around. Didn't recognize anybody in the place. When I got home, they had a blowtorch the ring off my finger. I got it fixed, but I haven't rewind it to this day. But that's what you got to try to press a girl with a ring, right?
Well, one of the things you're good at, too, is you do other things besides the Mets when it gets to the postseason and stuff. Seems like whenever I see highlights of major events, you're standing right next to that guy in the dugout and things like that.
I did it up to a point.
Pull that off all the time?
I like to keep in contact with the national guys, Kevin, and the guys from across the coast, and I did it, and I had two bad moments that kind of got me away from doing this stuff. One of the AllStar Games, I had to be responsible for getting Derek Jeter interviews, and the guys were watching my TV. They broke my chops. What are you doing with him? And one time, when did the Phillies beat the Tampa Bay? 07 or 08 or 09?
I think.
So I was on the mound doing interviews with Jimmy Rollins. I said, what am I doing? I'm doing interviews with the Phillies. They're playing We Are Champions. I work for the Mets. And after that, I just really worked the All-Star Games to the end. Got to travel, got to be a little too much. But I enjoyed just keeping contact what's going on, the latest stuff going on in baseball. I always enjoyed, that part of it. But I kind of, towards the end, I just really worked the All-Star Games towards the end.
And one thing I was always curious about, when the rally started in '86, where exactly were you, and where did you watch that from?
I was sitting in the Davy Johnson's office with Darryl Johnson, who was one of our scouts at the time and a former coach, and Keith had just came in for making the second out in the 10th inning, and when Gary got the hit to start the rally, I got up to go to the bathroom. Keith said, "Hold it, don't go any place. If you have to pee to your pants, that's okay. Don't move. There's hits in all these chairs." And so the Gary got the hit, Mitchell got the hit, Ray Knight got the hit, the Mookie miracle, we win. The next day, we down 3-0 and come back and win. But baseball players are really superstitious. I really got to go to the bathroom. Keith wouldn't let me leave. I had to stay in my chair. And I don't think I wet my pants, but I would. I said, "Yes, sir, Captain. Whatever you want me to do, I'll do."
Did you have anything to do with the Seinfeld episode?
I was just going to ask that. Yeah.
No, that was Keith's agent. That was with him and Roger McDowell.
Yeah, McDowell was in there too. Yeah, the second spitter. Yeah.
Yeah, Jerry struck up a relationship with Keith or Keith's agent, and he was the one who orchestrated that. And that was a pretty funny episode. Keith said he still gets residuals from last shows.
Nice. Here's something. Can you tell us a little bit about Sid Finch and what you had to do with Sid Finch?
Funny you ask. This is the winter of in spring training in '85. He had called into Frank Cashman's office. He said, "Jay, you up for a practical joke?" He said, "Frank, how well do you know me?" That's what made me look at the fairly thinking. So Mark Mulvoy and George Plimpton had called. They were going to write this story that would come out on April 1st. The Mets signed this fictitious 6'8" fireballer for some faraway country who threw 190-mile-an-hour fastball. I said, I'm all in. So the day the story comes out, I got with Mel Stoudemire in the old Hugginstangle field. We concocted this tent, and we told the writers, we made them aware of the story. They said Sid was throwing a bullpen in the tent. We would have an interview after his bullpen section. So Mel comes out with Ron Reynolds, who was one of our catchers at the time. I burnt a hole in his catching glove, and I told the writers that this was Sid 140-mile-an-hour curveball, and we could never do this in this age with Twitter. So I got a call from the sports editor of one of the New York papers, yelling his guts out of me. I cover the Mets on a daily basis. How could you give this story to Sports Illustrated, who never covers you? He kept it going for a day or two, and the opening paragraph said, "This is an April Fool's joke," but nobody really read it. Nobody read it, and it was we next year we retired Sid Finch and ceremonies at Al Lang. I love doing it, but you never could do this in a day of Twitter, or never could make it possible. But it's really, we didn't really hurt anybody. We had a good little April Fool's jokes.
I mean, that's a classic. I mean, that's when I was a kid. I remember that happening, and it just stuck with me as one of the best practical jokes that anyone has ever played on the media. That was fantastic.
Yeah, and all the beat writers, Kevin, was so mad at me that I came to Sports Illustrated and we're getting yelled at by my bosses. How can you do this to us? Blah, 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 blah. what we did in April Fools in St. Lucie, we used to get some lookalikes to throw the first ball out. Like we had a groundskeeper guy look like Robert De Niro. We had him throw the first ball out. We had one of the ushers look like Tiger Woods, and people far away. One of the best things, we had a guy. We told the people he was Jerry Mathews, one of my childhood heroes, from Leave It to Beaver. So we had him throw the first ball out. Kev, you know who we did that? Remember, Bob Clapper looked like Jerry Mathews.
Yes.
So we had him throw the ball out and said he was Jerry Mathews. So we had some fun. You know what? People don't laugh anymore. You know, you got to laugh and have fun doing this damn job. You know?
And that's what keeps you young. And the
yeah, no question. No question.
And you talked a little bit, you know, one of the things now too with the Mets and there's a side of Jeff Wilpon too that you and I have seen. That, you know, when he helps out with Shannon and things like that. What did that mean to you when you got that assistance from ownership and those kind of things?
Yeah, you know what, Jeff is a guy. He likes to stay in the background a lot, Kevin, and he doesn't like to be quoted all that much. But he's got a really big heart, and you know, people always say to me, when the Mets don't care about winning, I wish some fans would be able to watch a game with Fred and Jill, Jeff Wilpon. They want to win more than anybody. You're right. When Shannon got sick, that he supported her. Did everything for about a month or two before she passed. He went unnoticed to the hospital in where she was in Teaneck, sat by her bedside for 2 hours. He helped put on we had like a ceremony at Citi Field. Over 1,000 people came. He flew us up from Florida for the ceremony. When Tom first got sick, he flew me and Howie Rose out there to see him with Jeff. So it's a different side of people that people don't know. He and his dad really care about the team, they care about the city, and they want to win very badly. But he really does have a big heart. Listen, I consider myself blessed to work, someplace in this day and age. I worked for the same place over 40 years. You don't really happen. That doesn't really happen a lot. And we've had a lot of bad times through the years. I never, some guys that might fire a PR guy, bad stories. They were understanding I could control certain things, can't control others. So I wish people would have a better understanding how much Jeff and his dad really wanted to win through the years.
And you mentioned Tom Seaver. Just what was that like meeting? Dealing with Seaver through the years, and I know with the Hall of Fame and different things like that.
Yeah, my first meeting with Tom Seaver was in St. Petersburg. This is when he came back in '83 when he got him in a trade from the Reds. He was in the whirlpool. I was in a suit, and I walked over. I wanted to introduce myself. And Mr. Seaver, I'm Jay. I'm the PR guy with the Mets. And he said, "Come here, son. I can't hear you." So I went right next to the old whirlpool. He took the hose down my pants, and as I was talking to Tom, I was getting soaked, and I kept talking. I was getting soaked. My suit got ruined. My suit got ruined, and that was my introduction, to the great Tom Seaver. And it's kind of sad, Kevin, that he's not, he's sick now. But, I mean, next year or so, we're going to have a statue to him at Citi Field, which I'm looking forward to. And we changed the address to 41 Seaver Way. And he's a good friend. And I hope Mets fans, little fans, say a prayer for Tom and his wife, Nancy, and his entire family.
That's incredible.
Very nice.
You can say anything you want about Kevin, Jay.
No, I think the reason why Kevin and I had such a good relationship, I knew the kind of stuff that Kevin likes to write.
Yeah.
He doesn't like not to hit runs and errors. He wants to get inside people's head. And, I think, Kevin, I had a pretty good average with you through the years because I wouldn't call you with any BS stuff. If I had an idea for something, especially like the start of spring training, I would. Yeah, that's the one thing. A PR guy's going to know the guys on his staff. Kevin liked to write human stuff to get on people's heads. Like he wrote this, big piece about 2-3 months ago about why Gil Hodges should get in the Hall of Fame.
Oh yeah.
But I think that's why, going back to our days with Patterson News and stuff, I knew what Kevin was looking for, what kind of writer he is. And the New York scene is not the same without him. I know he's a great addition to your company, Chris, but it's not the same. The people don't write the same now that Kevin's not in the New York market anymore.
And I couldn't agree. I couldn't agree more. That's it. I mean, he's Kevin Kernan. I mean, he's AMBS for a reason.
No question.
And we're lucky. I can tell you that, Jay. We're a lucky bunch of guys. So, he very deserving of that New York Hall of Fame induction.
Yes, sir.
In November.
Congratulations again, Kevin.
Thank you, Jay.
Hey, Kevin, I got the perfect speech for you. Today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth.
I'm going to try that.
Kevin, you can go with that, bro. I didn't steal it.
Oh, man. Well, listen, I want to thank everybody.
Great to you, Jay. Thanks for coming on. Because
my pleasure. Thanks for having me, guys.
And again, the book, Mr. Met.
Mr. Met.
Kevin, I sold 9 copies so far, man. Thanks, guys. I had fun, man.
Listen, thank you, Jay. I want to say thank you to Jay Horwitz. I want to say thank you to Kevin Kernan. Thank you to Rocco.
Thanks, guys. Go Belleville.
Go Belleville, baby. Go Buccaneers.